Welcome class 10. Today's topic is types of levers. So levers are mainly classified depending upon the relative positions of effort, load and fulcrum. So there are three types of levers. Number 1, class 1 levers or first class levers. Number 2, class 2 levers or second class levers. And number 3, class 3 levers or third class levers. So let's learn about class 1 levers. So if you have a lever where the fulcrum is in between the load and the effort, then we say that it is a first class lever or the lever of class 1. So here mainly the fulcrum is in between the effort and the load. The examples that we can say for first class levers are the seesaw, the pair of scissors, a beam balance, a crowbar, pliers, and the hand pump. So here we can see that the effort is out here in between the load and the effort. Sorry, the fulcrum is in between the load and the effort. Here this point is the fulcrum. The load will be the paper if you are cutting the paper, and the forces that you apply over here will be the effort. The load will be the weight, the effort will be the weight, the standard weights, and the fulcrum is over here where the beam balance can move. Similarly, a crowbar has the effort out here, the fulcrum is this point, and the load is being lifted out here. The effort is applied in the pliers, and this is the fulcrum, and the load will be out here. And in hand pump, this point is the fulcrum, the load is out here, and the effort we apply will be at this point. So these are the few examples of first class lever. The mechanical advantage and the velocity ratio can have any value either greater than 1, less than 1 or equal to 1. This means that the effort arm can be greater than load arm, and if it is greater than load arm, then it will act as a force multiplier. If the effort arm is less than load arm, then it acts as a speed multiplier. And sometimes if effort arm and load arm are exactly equal, then it simply acts as a direction changer. Next is class 2 levers. So we have a lever where the fulcrum is at one end, the load is in between, and the effort is at the other end. So here we can see that the load is in between the effort and the fulcrum. So in second class of lever, we will notice that from the fulcrum to the effort, it's called the effort arm. So here the effort arm is much longer than the load arm, which is only this much. So the distance from the load to the fulcrum is the load arm, and the distance between the fulcrum and the effort is the effort arm. So always in case of second class lever or the class 2 levers, we always have the effort arm greater than the load arm. Few examples of class 2 levers are wheelbarrow, the nut cracker, then the bottle opener, a bar simply used for lifting the load, and the human too, when we lift our weight, okay, on our heels, then it acts as a second class lever. So in second class lever, as we said, that the load is in between. So here effort, load in between, and the fulcrum. Effort out here, load in between, and this is the fulcrum. This is the fulcrum. All right, the load is at this point, and this is the effort. Here we can see effort, this is the load, and the fulcrum. In our human leg, this point is the fulcrum, the load is out here, and we apply the effort, lifting our legs using this part of the muscles. So the effort is out here. So as we can see that in a second class lever, since the effort arm is much longer than the load arm, so effort arm is greater than load arm. So in this case, the mechanical advantage becomes greater than 1, and also the velocity ratio becomes greater than 1. So this kind of lever will always act as a force multiplier. Class 3 levers. So in a lever, if the fulcrum is at one end and the load is in the other end and effort is in between, then we have the class 3 levers. So in class 3 levers, the effort is in between the load and the fulcrum. Let's look at the examples. Stapler, tongues, a knife, fishing rod, and the spade. These are the levers, these are the instruments or tools that can act as the third class lever or the class 3 levers. So here this point is the fulcrum, the effort is applied out here and the load out here. We can see the fulcrum, effort, okay, in between, and the resistance, that means the load, is at the other end. Load, effort, and fulcrum, effort lying in between. Here the force is written, force means you are applying the effort, the fulcrum over here and the load. Similarly, load, effort, and fulcrum. So effort always lies in between the fulcrum and the load, and that is the third class lever. So in Kerala, you may have seen this kind of picture, okay, where the snake boat race is held. So here the participants, they hold the short oar, okay, or a short handle oar, where the effort lies in between and the fulcrum and the load lies at the two ends. So here this lever acts as the class 3 lever. So in the picture we can clearly see that the load arm is much greater than the effort arm. So here the effort arm is always less than the load arm. So when the load arm is greater than effort arm, we have the mechanical advantage less than 1 and the velocity ratio also becomes less than 1. So here it does not act as a force multiplier, but there will always be the gain in speed. So we can say these are the speed multipliers. In our human body, we also have the 3 types of levers at different parts of our body. So here, when we are nodding our head, okay, the first part towards the chin is taken as the load. The fulcrum is this point and we are applying the effort out here. So this is the first class lever. In the second class lever, as we have already said, that this is the load, the fulcrum is at this point and the effort lies at the calf at this point, okay, so load lies in between. And in third class lever or human arms, we have the load out here, so load, the fulcrum is at this point and we are applying the effort through this muscles, so effort lies again in between. So if the question is asked which human body parts acts as the first, second and third class levers respectively, then these are the human body parts. All right, so here the first class lever has the fulcrum in between, the load has the second class lever in between, and in the third class lever we have the effort in between. So it's always F, L and E. Remember FLE for fulcrum, load and effort. Fulcrum in between, first class lever. Load in between, second class lever. Effort in between, then it's third class lever.